Well, welcome to the show. Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers, and we are live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, you are in for a treat today. We have a really special guest, an old friend of mine for more decades than we probably want to talk about. But Charles Nearin, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Well, like I mentioned, we've known each other for a long, long time. And just for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Catch us up. Tell us what you're doing and a little bit about your background, if you would.
Well, my name is Charles Nearin. I came to this country since the mid-70s via Australia. I was born and raised in Cambodia. And I live in Portland, Oregon since 75 until now. And I've known Randy since I think the late 70s, right?
I think so. Yeah.
One of the
I think we weren't going to talk about that part, right?
Okay. Anyway, so and you've still been, my true friends, my mentor. So I've been involved with different business ventures over the years. Doing a lot of things with international business connections, especially in Southeast Asia areas. So, and a little bit about my family background is that I came here, again, via Australia when Cambodia fell to the communists in April of 75. So, and my father was in the foreign service at that time. So my dad applied for political asylum to come to the United States. And so we were very fortunate that we got accepted by the former Secretary of State, and we came to the United States, settled down in Portland, Oregon, and the rest is history.
Well, Charles, tell us a little bit. You have deep roots that go back, especially in politics. I know your grandfather was, I believe he was Prime Minister of Cambodia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And
tell
us a little bit about that.
Well, he was two-time Prime Ministers in the late 50s, twice. His name is Simvar, Simvar. You can Google search his name. And he was appointed as Prime Minister in 1957 and 58 by the former King of Cambodia. And he held other different positions, the Minister of Defense. He was also a political party, one of the political party group. He had his own publishing his own newspapers. So he involved with many high positions level in the government, and he dedicated his whole life, for his country. One of the true honest politicians that you can find. So I'm feel very proud and blessed and to be, the family legacy.
Yeah,
and later on, he became ambassador to Japan in the 70s. He was also one time a presidential candidate when Cambodia formed a new republic government in the 70s. He was one of the presidential candidates. And my father, James Nearin, followed his footsteps and became a diplomat in the 60s. And then his last assignment was to Australia, and that was in the early mid-75. February, then when we got news of when Cambodia fell to the communists, so we were stranded in Australia.
Wow!
But my father recognized his relationship with the United States, and he doesn't want to break up diplomatic relationship, and he became a very controversial figure at that time because he refused to recognize the new communist government. So my father was the only one in the whole country, in Australia, to still recognize the United States, and for that, United States government at that time under the Ford administration accepted my father and his Secretary of State, I think it was Dr. Henry Kissinger, granted my father political asylum. So we came into this country, and we were very grateful for the United States government has accepted us and been the oldest child in the family. I wanted to continue for my family and my father's legacy if things were different. But in my own way, I do it in different ways in terms of the global business connections and the goodwill ambassador in my own way. So
now, Charles, how old were you when you first came to the U.S.?
Well, I was about close to 16 years old, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was old enough to witness the war and witness the whole, odyssey. Yeah.
So you have fond memories then of your grandfather. You were old enough to spend time with him and kind of get to know some of the stories.
Yeah, the last time my whole family saw him was in early 75. So he came to visit all children and family for the last time before he went back to France, and he retired there. So that was my last memory. And he's still a very proud, prominent, dedicated man,
Yeah.
and with a high moral integrity. So that was my last memory of him. And I have pictures, matter of fact, I will put you someday, and the whole family album.
Now, what years? How old were you when you lived in Cambodia? From what ages?
Well, I left Cambodia, I think, when I was, 10 years old.
10.
At
Okay.
that time, my father he was still a diplomat and attaché, and he was sent to Burma. At that time, it's called Burma, now it's called Myanmar, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so the whole family followed him, to job positions in Burma. So I was educated in a British school.
Oh.
So then we came back to Cambodia in 74 and stayed till about 75. And then we left, and then my father got assigned to Australia. Canberra, I think that was the city.
Canberra.
So
Yeah.
that was, yeah. So I lived about 10 years in Cambodia, and then the rest was, outside of Cambodia. And now the United States is my adopted country, my home, my root.
Well, Cambodia has had just a very interesting past, as I guess is the best way to say it. Some incredibly highs and some of the worst lows in the history of countries, I guess. Some really terrible things have happened there. And any thoughts on some of those things? How do you feel as a Cambodian American when you think about those things?
Well, my heart all the way in Cambodia for the people over there. I went back to Cambodia in 2011 for the first time, and one of the reasons I went there was to pay respect to my father who passed away. I mean, his dream hope was to die in his country, so I went to pay my respect, took my mother along with me, and seeing the country, how much it has changed. How the people, how the whole country, and that was my last trip to Cambodia was 2011. And I'm very proud of, especially the people have that changed, the character of the people, very down to earth, very gentle. And the world has really, except Cambodia, is open up to the world right now.
Yeah.
Besides the politics, but just for the people itself, I think it's just come around tremendously. And I'm looking forward to go back to visit Cambodia again before the end of this year, and also trying to go to Vietnam with my other visitors. So,
Now I understand.
But I'd love to see one day. Yeah.
Vietnam is pretty open for Americans now for travel, right? And is Cambodia as well? It's pretty open to
very
Americans.
much.
Yeah.
Just in Cambodia, just like Bangkok, just like Thailand.
Yeah.
Differences. Thailand is much bigger country, bigger scale, but the country is very open.
Yeah.
It's very open. One beautiful thing about Cambodia was that all civilizations has been rediscovered recently, and one of the most attractive tourist attraction sites was Angkor Wat, one of the 7 wonders of the world. We have, I think, about 2 million visitors per year. As a matter of fact, it was voted, according to the TripAdvisor, the significant landmarks 2 years in a row.
Well,
So I'd love to see you, to go there, personally take you to visit.
well, we've
come
talked about
on.
that for a long time. I can't wait to do that.
It
But
will be.
that
will
would be a highlight of my life, I'm sure. Yeah.
You've been to Thailand, right? So Cambodia just crossed the border.
Yeah, I just got back from Thailand, as a matter of fact, just recently, and so that's pretty close, but it's still not Cambodia. But yeah, I look forward to doing that sometime soon. Now, when I know that you have been very active in the Asian community in the Portland, Oregon area. You founded, I believe, a Southeast Asian organization. Is that right?
Yes, in the mid '80s, I was one of the founding members of association. It's called Cambodian American Community of Oregon. There was 13 founding members. I was one of
Ah,
them,
uh-huh.
and the organization is still active today. And we did a lot of work in terms of building friendship, reach out to different communities.
Yeah.
And I want to say, the former governor of Oregon, Ted Gowski,
Huh?
signed declarations. I think late December is officially Cambodian American, recognized, I would say, officially in the state of Oregon.
Wow.
So they were very proud. Yeah. So I left it a long time ago and let the younger generation take over the mantle.
Mm.
So I was voted temporary as the first president, but I didn't accept the positions. I also, involved with different in the Southeast Asian communities, with working for the public health service, helping refugees at that time to settle, especially Cambodian Vietnamese. By the way, I speak Vietnamese as well.
Oh, wow.
Besides native
Uh-huh.
Cambodians and some Spanish, of course. So I was always involved with the immigrants and refugees community. And then when I ran into a dear friend of mine who opened up introduced me to different businesses where I met you. And so I doing, switch from social service into the entrepreneurship and business side, which this country has really inspired me, to become an entrepreneur. So things evolve one way or another, but I still want to use my um, international business connections to expand, the business side
Sure.
especially the global market.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, because you've helped so many people, and I know you've done this for so long, for so many years, and it's got to be just a great feeling just when you're out and about in Portland, you got to be running into people all the time that just think that, they are able to even just exist because of you, because you helped them in the beginning. Got to be a great feeling, isn't it?
It is, Randy.
Yeah.
It is to see a younger generation today.
Yeah.
They have enjoyed. We kind of laid the foundation, the platform for them. And so today we see many Southeast Asian kids become very successful in both public and private. And when we first came here, like the first generation, like all immigrants come to this country, we just got to pave the road for the next generation. You got to do what you got to do. I was proud to be one of the members to do that. So and it's, Portland's still my home, my roots.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing this every day. As a matter of fact, I'm also working for a private attorney as a case manager, helping promote a legal service to the immigrant community. And I'm still doing that today. Today we see immigrant refugees from Central Africa regions like Somalia and Sudan. So they came to us, and so I kind of helping them, facilitate them that if there's a legal issue, to the
Uh-huh.
country of law, and we can help you. So I'm still doing that.
I
So
know. I know. Back in the 70s, there was a period of time where there were just massive amounts of refugees that came to Oregon, as well as
mhm.
other parts in the U.S. But how many refugees do you think per year come into the Portland area currently?
Oh gosh, my guess
Is
is
this
over 100,000. I guess.
wow?
I live in the South Portland areas where you see a lot of concentrations of refugees from Myanmar right now.
Wow.
Some of them Nepal, Somali, Sudanese, and so they're still coming in. So and now I think some of them from the Middle East, also like Syria, for example. But so in Poland, because of and one of the things that Poland that attracts a lot of refugees, because we got one of the non-profit NGO organizations very well known in the states, and one of the model, I think it's called International Refugee Center of Oregon, is IRCO. One of the most successful NGO agencies that was set up to resettle refugees from around the world. And that's one of the reasons that Oregon's, attract a lot of newcomers over here. So, and I've known, you know, some of the executives who work over there, who are former refugees, Cambodian refugees, who run that organization.
Now, how did your family come about going to Oregon instead of some other place? How did that happen?
Ah, well, good questions. When we first arrived here, as Southeast Asian refugees, we were placed in the refugees camp, military camp, before we were allowed to settle. So all of us, we were put in. We arrived here. We were put in Camp Pendleton. I think there was only 2 refugees camps set up to process Southeast Asian refugees.
You were in a
So
refugee camp here in the U.S. in Camp Pendleton down by San Diego.
Yeah. Yes,
Wow.
sir. Yes, Camp Pendleton, and also another camp. I think was Fort Chaffee in Arkansas.
Uh huh.
So we stay in Camp Pendleton for a
Wow.
couple of months. In order to get out of the refugees out of the camp, you got to have a church sponsor. So at
Oh,
that time, there was one of the well-known church sponsor groups that processed, Southeast Asian refugees. I think it was Lutheran Church. So Lutheran Church was sponsored us out. So we didn't know, my parents, at that time didn't know which state,
sure.
this is a big culture shock for us,
Yeah.
We know the United States, but we don't know Oregon from New York or Arkansas.
Right.
So
Right.
we just pick Oregon, and then we settled in Tigard, actually.
Tigard. Uh huh.
And the church, Lutheran Church, was based in Tigard, so they sponsored us over there. So I think my family was one of the first Cambodian refugees settled in Tigard.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
your
we
father,
took Tigard, so-
your father was a diplomat. Did he get any special treatment at all, or was he just like everybody else?
No, actually, we got no special treatment. We're just like everybody else,
Wow.
regardless of social status. We're all in the same boat, Randy. We're all in the same boat, but we were proud, that to come and settle in the U.S. So we start from zero. We start from zero.
Wow.
Build our way up.
My goodness. Well, what memories you must have. That what are the what are the odds that you could be born in Cambodia and have all the experience in all those countries that you've had, and then end up in Portland, Oregon? It's just amazing.
Well, my mom is a very strong faith person. She prays a lot, and
Yeah.
and when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I had a dream that I want to live somewhere in the West. And I guess one of the countries that I had a dream to settle one day in the U.S. I guess my dream came true. So, I guess the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah.
And we were very thankful, Randy. It was a
Absolutely.
wonderful people there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your family, you are such a great example of success. You've had a number of successful businesses. I know your family was involved in the jewelry business for a while, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, yes. My mother, Mary, she's 86 years old right now. She's still active,
Mm-hmm.
around. And she was the one who inspired me to go to business, actually. He said, there's nothing greater than being your own boss, control your own destiny. And when she started opening her little jewelry store in Southeast Portland in the early 80s, 70s, and I was helping her run the business, being the oldest child in the family. And so we ran a business, with nothing, with no help from scratch for about 5, 6 years old, for 5, 6 years, So, and that kind of opened up my vision, my mind, that the small business owner, the American entrepreneurship, which is alive and well. So that's what she inspired me to become a business person. But I also inspired by my dad, diplomatic background and my grandfather. So I kind of fused the two together, kind of like a two hybrid concept.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing right
Well,
now.
you've done really well at that. Now, I must tell everybody that you and I have known each other for many, many years, as we mentioned, but you've always been a bachelor since I've known you, and so maybe the most eligible bachelor in all of Portland. So if we have any takers out there, they can just contact you, right?
Oh, Randy, you get me into trouble again. You know what? Speaking of bachelor, whenever I go to a Cambodian wedding party,
Yeah.
We have privately, we joke among each other, so we call each other SAM, stand for Single Asian Male, and that's me.
Sam, single Asian male. Yeah.
Sam. And all my friends at the wedding say, hey, your name is Charlie, why do they call you Sam? And that's what they're referring to as Asian club, single Asian man, I say single Asian male. So, yeah, I'm still available, single and available. As a matter of fact, Randy, since you're touching up about being single, you know that I'm in the process of putting together an international dating website.
Wow.
It also has the aspect of a marriage matchmaking concept. I've been asking by a lot of people from Southeast Asia to help them to, people together. So I thought, hey, this is a great idea, to bring, people of different cultures together. And, it's a very popular trend right now, the dating website, marriage matchmaking website is exploding right now. So, I feel like maybe I should do something, for good for both sides, bringing people together.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you posted on that.
Well, I know that especially a lot of people that came to this country as refugees, a lot of ethnic communities in the past have been very sort of closed, where the older generation, they just didn't want their kids stepping outside of their own ethnic group. But all that's changed now, hasn't it? A lot of openness now.
Oh yes, tremendously. It's changed. Yeah, it is. We still there's still a big generation gap.
Yeah.
But the older generations, like my parents, they begin to accept. They pretty much settled. Those especially who came from the war era, from the mid '70s, so they kind of accept right now. For the first 10 years when we came here, there was tremendous adjustment. To the cultural shock. But now I think they're willing to accept. And the children, are growing up as mid-adults in their 40s, 50s, pretty much kind of carrying the torch, and they have the children of their own. So it changed tremendously, for better.
Yeah.
I think.
Tell us a little bit about the Cambodian culture. It's similar, I guess, in a lot of ways with most of the Southeast Asian countries. There's some similarities, certainly. But what are some of the things that makes it really unique?
Well, those who have never traveled to Cambodia or interact with many Cambodians, Cambodian people in itself has settled in that region for thousands and thousands of years. We have our own writing, our own culture. So the civilization, the country has evolved, been stable for so long that it evolved and it developed into a refined culture comparable to the Incas and Mayas, to the Middle East. So, they're evolved in science, technology, astronomy, architecture, literature. So Cambodia is very unique, civilization itself, and it was one time an empire extended all the way up to China. Yeah. So I don't want to get into much into politics of it, but I think today, people discovered Cambodia was a hidden gem, that people amazed. The country so tiny, but it was not a tiny country. It was one time a very proud, mighty empire, and then the decline of the civilization, the empire shrunk. But the things that make Cambodia unique is the culture, the dignity, and the cultural history that it's been still intact. People say that Cambodia is like Thailand or Vietnam, but it's basically very different. It has influenced a lot throughout Southeast Asia. And there's many American archaeologists and tourists visit Cambodia that discover how different it is from other neighboring countries in terms of,
I guess a lot of that has to do with the influence of other countries that have come in and taken Cambodia captive, moved in, and tried to rule the country. Tell us about some of that history, the part that might remember.
Well,
was France a big? France was had a big impact on Cambodia, right?
yeah, it was France who discovered, Cambodia through the French explorer. So, and in the late 18th century, prior to that, I don't think it was the Portuguese, but it was the French who discovered Cambodia, especially by the Jesuit priest. Their mission was to explore the front part of the world, and so they discovered the temple ruins. And French didn't realize that Cambodia has its own civilization, and the French couldn't believe it.
Wow.
But since then, Cambodia became a French colony, and we were so much influenced by French colonial, let's say, master. I hate to use that word today, but they have changed Cambodia into bring up to the West. So my grandfather was a French educated. He was a prolific French writer. When he became a prime minister. So French was father, and so was my father. As a matter of fact, I also studied French when I was younger in Cambodia. But my father decided, said, one day we're going to stay settled in a foreign country, maybe United States or Europe. So he taught me English, And so I'm glad that, my dad kind of inspired me and steered me in that direction. So anyway, a little bit about Cambodian history.
Yeah, now, Charles, let's talk about the food. A lot of people here in the U.S., they certainly know about Chinese food. They know about Thai food. And I think once you have Thai food, you probably don't want to have Chinese food, the American kind of Chinese food, right? But and then a lot of people know about Vietnamese. You have all the places that have the wonderful soup dishes. But what kind of food? How does Cambodian food differ? You don't see a lot of Cambodian restaurants around.
So especially in Oregon, I think maybe in California and Long Beach, especially Long Beach has the largest Cambodian enclave. I think it's over 100,000 families, and and then the second largest concentration of Cambodian immigrants and refugees is in Lowell, Massachusetts. So Cambodian food is considered is very unique in its own ways in terms of what we use a lot of galanga. And one of the ingredients in the cooking. So I tell you, the best source for you to check it out is called, there's a book written by a dear friend of mine, passed away. He considered the authority on Cambodian cuisines, and he was also a well-known chef. I think you may have probably met him a long time ago. His name is Van Touch, Vantouh, and he wrote an authoritative book on Cambodian cuisines and culture, and it's called Angkor Culinaire, Angkor Culinaire. I think so you can Google search that, right? And he outlines some of the true Cambodian cuisines. I wish I have a copy send it to you, but I think it's still available online. So I would recommend your guests to check it out. I wish I have a specific information of links. So that'll answer all the questions. I don't want to. I can only share with you what I know, but I'm not an expert in that field. And I think Chef Van Touch, he is the person I would recommend to check it out.
Now, in Cambodia, let's talk about religion for a little bit. In Cambodia, because of the communists, it's probably sort of anti-religion, right? Officially, I guess. But what traditionally has been the religion there?
Well, Cambodia in the early centuries, it was practiced Hinduism,
Mm-hmm.
and later on it switched to Buddhism. Theravada Buddhism, is two branches of Buddhism, Brahman and Theravada, and that was later on in the I don't want to say which centuries, but in the from the 4th century on, Cambodia switched to Buddhism. So it's still a primary Buddhist country, 95% Buddhism. You know.
So you see a lot of Buddhist temples like you would in Thailand?
Yes, yes.
A lot
yes.
of Buddhist
A lot of
monks?
Buddhist
Uh-huh.
temples like that, yes, yes.
Okay.
And today, I think you see it, the other different religious groups, especially the Mormon group. A lot of Mormons actually
Yeah.
is, going to Cambodia and preaching over there, the missionaries. So they open some churches over there, temples over there, and they see also some of the Islamic groups also. Because the country is open right now, it's open widely to the rest of the world. So, but still predominantly,
Buddhist, yeah.
Buddhism.
Now I know in Portland you have there's a Buddhist temple there that is I guess for not just the Cambodian but the Laotian community as well. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. Oh, well, I'm proud to say that in the mid '70s, the Cambodian elders came together,
Mm-hmm.
decided to raise funds and build a temple for the rest of the Cambodian community. So, and it's still the one temple in the state of Oregon for the entire state, and it is in Westland actually, the border of Westland and Lake Oswego. So it was the largest Buddhist temple in Oregon, and every year we have New Year celebrations, Buddhist religious day celebrations. So we all Cambodians from all over the state come together to one temple, and the Laotians, our community, since Laotians are Buddhists like Thai and Burmese, they all come. They're welcome to go to the temple. So they have their own temple, but Cambodia still retains the largest. So only one temple in the state of Oregon.
Wow.
And when you're in Portland and New Year's time in April, you're welcome.
I remember visiting that with you once. We went there and visited. Yeah.
You remember that? Yes.
I remember it many years ago. So let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about Charles Nearin for a little bit. What do you think Charles Nearin's life is going to look like in 4, 5, 6, 7 years?
Well, I think I'll probably be doing much more of the same
Yeah.
in a bigger scale. In terms of, especially in terms of my international business connection, entrepreneurship, promoting my new business venture. So,
Well, that says a lot about you. It says to me that you must like what you've been doing, and it really kind of boils down to helping people. It's what a blessing that is when you get to help people all the time, right?
it is, Randy. It is. You just open yourself to the world, and you'll be amazed to see all the great people in this world. We are so different. It's sometimes politics that divided us, But,
Yeah.
but 2005, we are pretty much loving to connect each other. And it's wonderful to see the world, especially when you travel to different parts of the world.
Yeah.
You see how we are so much alike. It's just that it's a wonderful time with the technology to just bring people together. And I'm looking forward. I'm excited, Randy. The next 5 years, the best is yet to come. Let's just say that.
That's right. Well, I can imagine. Now, you told us a little bit about your family, but you are one of how many siblings? I know you have a sister.
Yes, I have 3 sisters and 1 younger brother. Both of them live in California. Both of my sisters live in California. And my younger sister still live in Poland, and my younger still live in Poland. And his name is Jack, and he's living with my mother, taking care of her. I live separately on my own right now. And traditionally, when you're still not married, you still live with your family, And in this country, kind of look at you. What do you think? You're over 18 years old. Why you still live with your mom? But it's very, acceptable, to live with your parents until, you're old enough to move out or get settled down and still live with your family. So, but I decided to move out on my own so I can explore more Now my younger brother Jack is, carrying on the responsibility, taking care of her. So a kind of nice break for me.
Now you're the
So
oldest.
that,
You're the oldest
yeah.
child, right?
Yes, I'm the
Yeah.
oldest child in the family.
So that would
And
traditionally be your responsibility.
traditionally, the oldest child is like a third parent.
Yeah.
You got to other personal sacrifice, and set an example for them. So I'm proud of my part, and I still do, Randy.
Of
I still
course.
do. You know,
That's an interesting comment you made about a third parent. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it is sort of like that, isn't it?
yeah. I wish more people today, take on that, because it makes you a much better person. You
Yes.
know, and you discover that the leadership, the parenting aspect of it,
Uh huh.
the guiding compass, to your sibling, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
things change.
Charles, what a thrill it is to talk to you. You've had such a rich and varied and wonderful life. Looking back, if you could pick one thing that maybe was the most exciting thing that you can remember, what would that one thing be?
Oh gosh, sport. I wish I could just write down, you know, to be travel with my dad again to see the world. Been
Mm,
doing carrying out these diplomatic missions.
yeah.
That's what my dad calling. It wasn't for the war, I probably in Cambodia and will become an ambassador and representing the country, you know, to the world. That's one thing that I I wish I could go back and do that right now.
Well,
Thanks for asking.
you've heard of that term bucket list that a lot of people talk about, that things they want to accomplish that they haven't had a chance to. What are some of the things on your bucket list?
Well, one of my bucket list right now is that I'm writing a memoir paid tribute to my father,
Mm,
you know, as a last diplomat standing in Australia, April of 75.
mm.
So I'm writing privately a memoir tribute, and maybe a kind of self-publishing. One day I will share with you and to your audience.
Oh, very
So,
good. Well, you mentioned your father a couple times, and the father-son relationship is, in most relationships like that are complicated, to say the least. And what does your father mean to you when you look back at the memories you've had with him, and all the things that he did even before Charles was born? What does that mean to you?
well, my fond memory of my dad, you know, is very kind, very gentle. He gives more of himself than anybody else. And he always tells me, son, you know, study a lot, reads a lot. And because of him, I became an avid reader. So I still see his smile every day, and see his smile every day. And friends those who know my dad, and you met my dad
Yes, I
when he
remember him.
was spoke, he's a soft spoken, but he stood up inside very down to earth, very sincere, and we just want to make people happy.
Yeah.
Same with my mom, Mary, and he also do a lot of charity work. Like my mom all her life was charity for people, and she inspired me to do the same thing,
Yeah.
to give more to the world. What we are struggling is nothing compared to people around the world who have less than what we have.
Yeah.
You should be very thankful for what we have, Randy. What you're doing, to you or the youth don't know you have to do the same thing with your friends, your family, and I'm very proud that you have done many great things. That's why you and I still connecting this, we have this thing in common, connecting with people and open to the rest of the world. So and keep continue doing that.
You know, gratitude and kindness, as you said, I think they're two of the greatest virtues anyone could have. You know, when you're kind and you're so thankful for everything that you're blessed with in your life, you know, it's hard to beat that, you know, and I think you're the embodiment of that. You have always been grateful, and you've always been kind, and just a special person. Let me ask you this. You know, Cambodia, of course, is in your roots for generations, and you know it's a special place in your heart, I'm sure. Although you've lived most of your life in the United States and are sort of cemented here into this culture. But do you ever feel like you'd like to go back and maybe live in Cambodia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, Cambodia has changed so much in the last 10 years right now. You know, I would love to go back and stay there one day, you know, but at the same time, a little bit cautious to see how politically the country is, how stable it is.
Yeah.
You know, but so far right now, you know, it's still very peaceful, just like Thailand. You know, a lot of expats go there, live there, but I would love to go and settle, you know, one day. You know, see, I still keep my home, you know, my roots in the United States, so I kind of be the best of both worlds, you know, the
Yeah.
old and the new, and the both culture, East and the West culture, and that's embodied because who I am, makes me who I am, what I am right now, the best of both culture, East and Western culture.
So it would be safe enough, you think, if you were to go live there?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, no problem.
yeah. As long as you don't, you know, like politics.
Yeah.
Even though I come from a political family background, but I understand the politics. It's just, you know, just make peace and don't go rock the boat. You know, you'll be
Yeah.
okay. You know?
Yeah. Well, Charles, it's just been just a delight talking to you. We only have a couple minutes left, but you know, you're sort of a wise old philosopher, and I mean that generically speaking, not that you're old, but what advice do you have for those listening to us today? You know, how do you get along in this society? You know, there's so much turmoil going on. All we have to do is turn on the news, and we just see people just sort of at each other all the time. And you know, what advice do you have for people?
Well, for the younger generations, I think they need to listen more to the elder and be more humble, regardless of how educated you are, how knowledgeable you are. You know, there is a reason. You know, I was inspired, you know, by older friends, older folks all my life. You know, and I am what I am because of them, and I want to pass on. And today I see a lot of young people today are very, what do you call it, open to the rest of the world. So I advise them is to, especially read a lot,
Yeah.
travel a lot, okay, and experience different culture, interact more.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to say that. You know, I've seen, you know, right here in Poland, people, you know, young people today, you know, just discovered. You know, they don't think like you and I think that time. You know, we rediscovered each other where we come from. Today it's very, you know, very natural. So my advice to them is just, you know, listen more, be humble, especially, okay, and keep an open mind, an open heart, and
Yeah.
give more. You know, that's all I could share. You know,
And
we
maybe,
only live in the world, you know, on this planet.
yeah.
Live a legacy. I tell you, Randy, let me add one more thing. You have also inspired me a lot. I remember one of the books that you gave me, the little red book. It's called Rhino,
Rhinoceros Success, yeah.
right? I still have that book. And you have inspired me, one of my true friends and leaders.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's a great book. And Charles, we're out of time. We could talk for hours, and I'm sure when I see you again, we'll do that. But thank you so much for being here. And I'm just going to add two things about what you just said about what people should do, because maybe they should have some of your qualities, and that's kindness and gratefulness, because those are the secrets to a wonderful, blessed life, I think. And you just you know, when I think about you, I just think that you know, you're the guy that has those qualities, and I think it's made all that difference in your life. So thanks for being with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you sometime really soon. And for those of you watching, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week, same time, same station. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. That's all. Bye-bye.